Hey there! I just wanted to drop this video explaining my infographic about what causes acne. So we'll go through this and see if it answers any questions. So first, acne is caused by this bacteria called Propionibacterium acnes. This is a gram-positive, aerotolerant bacillus. It lives on everybody's skin, but it only causes acne in some individuals. So since it lives on everyone's skin, it makes it an endogenous microbe. I think that's an interesting thing about acne. So everybody has the bacteria that causes acne. I'm curious why everyone doesn't have acne. So I wanted to include some information about that. So why doesn't everyone have acne? Well, only some people have the skin characteristics required to give them acne. So you need a couple things to have acne. Excess sebum production and then increased skin keratinization. These two things together make it much more likely that the sebaceous gland will clog, and these traits are genetically controlled. So again, only some people have these genetic traits that will give them acne. So the excess sebum production, just some of us make more sebum than others. This is the oily component of our skin. And we know that some people have more oily skin, some people have less oily skin. There's one other thing, during our life, we tend to produce much more sebum when we go through puberty. So it makes sense that many people have acne outbreaks when they're going through puberty. So first making lots of sebum, then again, increased skin keratinization. Keratin is a structural protein in your skin that makes it pretty rigid or gives it rigidity, strength. The more sebum you have, sort of the less stretchy the skin gets. And that just makes it more likely that a sebaceous gland will clog, because if there's some debris trying to get out, the pore can't stretch to let the debris squeeze out, and instead the debris gets clogged, and then that traps the sebum inside the gland. So we know that Propionibacterium acnes causes acne. We know that to get acne, you have to have a couple skin characteristics: extra sebum production and extra keratin production. And then when we get acne, we actually see zits. So what is a zit? A zit is just one of these clogged sebaceous glands. P. acnes is trapped inside because it was living in the sebum. The bacteria overgrow in that clogged gland. And then our body has an immune response to that overgrowth of the bacteria. So we'll get some inflammation, but mostly we'll get white blood cells traveling to the gland to try to kill these bacteria. That creates a bunch of pus. Pus is just the waste created by the white blood cells that have just destroyed a bunch of these bacteria. That waste, the pus, gets trapped inside the gland, and we get acne. A lesion, skin lesion with some inflammation, full of this pus that can get painful and pop eventually. Generally, we say there's like two major kinds of zits or pimples. There's whiteheads or blackheads. Whiteheads are when the pore became clogged because the skin was swollen shut, whereas a blackhead becomes clogged because some debris tried to get out of the pore. It got trapped at the surface, and then that debris turns black because of its exposure to oxygen. Right, so the bacteria was already growing in the pore, it got clogged shut. The bacteria overgrew in this sebum that should seep out, but it's not seeping out because it's clogged. The bacteria overgrow, the immune response happens, we destroy those bacteria, but that creates pus, which is also trapped in this pore. So why does P. acnes thrive so well inside that gland? I think there's a couple characteristics that are critically important. So first, P. acnes can produce these lipases. Lipases are just enzymes that digest lipids, so they can use the sebum as a food source. Make sense? P. acnes is also an aerotolerant anaerobe. That means it can thrive in this low oxygen sebum environment. Sebum creates an environment with relatively low oxygen. Oxygen doesn't diffuse well into this oil. So any bacteria that's going to thrive in that sebaceous gland has to be an anaerobe. So that's where I'll stop. I hope that answers any questions you have about acne.